Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Cedrina Pledger, and I'm thrilled to be a part of curating the culturally responsive, sustaining pedagogy strand of the What School Could Be Innovation playlist. Now, most of my research and practice focuses on cultivating culturally responsive and sustaining teaching self-efficacy in novice and veteran teachers. From here on out, instead of saying culturally responsive, sustaining pedagogy, I'm going to say crispy. It rolls off the tongue, it makes me think of bacon, or for my vegetarian and vegan friends, you can think about crispy kale or something. The foundations for this crispy playlist have roots that go way back. So I'd like to give a brief background on the forefathers, mothers, sisters, and brothers who we have to thank for this transformational form of pedagogy. James A. Banks, frequently cited as the father of multicultural education, he is credited with really starting this multicultural education movement. And that movement was a byproduct of the civil rights movement, when more people of color began to collectively and publicly advocate for the democratic ideals specified in the nation's founding documents. Multicultural education was the impetus for reform that was designed to address the needs of young people in newly integrated classrooms. In 1977, the National Council for Accreditation in Teacher Education adopted a multicultural education standard, which allowed for its widespread dissemination in teacher prep programs all over the country. Perhaps a logical evolution of multicultural education was Gloria Ladson-Billings' seminal work on culturally relevant pedagogy. She defines it as the practice of utilizing the student's culture as a basis for helping students understand themselves, others, structure social interactions, and conceptualize knowledge. Then we have Geneva Gay, who defined culturally responsive teaching as using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, frames of reference, and performance styles of ethnically diverse students to make learning encounters more relevant to and effective for them. And of course, the work continued to build, and there are more recent adaptations. You have Emden's reality pedagogy, which is rooted in culturally relevant teaching and critical pedagogy. Zaretta Hammond's culturally responsive teaching in the brain, Paris and Aline's culturally sustaining pedagogies, and Goldie Muhammad's culturally and historically responsive literacy. So there are so many beautiful researchers and practitioners out there who've done amazing work around this. And whether folks call it culturally responsive, culturally relevant, sustaining, inclusive, adaptive, disruptive, revitalizing, the research is clear that its implementation benefits young people. And the benefits are many. We see improvements and increases in academic achievement, cross-cultural interactions, positive racial identity development, daily attendance, empowerment, engagement, transformative behavior patterns, and gifted and honors enrollment. In fact, the two areas where this form of pedagogy leads to decreases are in over-enrollment of Black and Brown students to special education and in disciplinary infractions. So I took the opportunity to synthesize all of this phenomenal research and practice and created an alliterative way for me to teach about and implement culturally responsive, sustaining pedagogy. The three core CRSP components are cultural competence, critical consciousness, and cognitive capacity development. I'll provide you with a brief overview of each CRSP component, then you can click on the playlist videos to hear the incredible classroom teachers and coaches share their expertise connected to each component, as well as some of their favorite resources. First, we have cultural competence. This CRSP component invites teachers to design curriculum that represents, elevates, honors, and integrates students' cultural and linguistic backgrounds and cultural ways of being. Next, we have critical consciousness. This CRSP component encourages teachers to provide opportunities for students to surface, challenge, and change societal inequities by thinking critically and acting empathetically. And finally, we have cognitive capacity development. This CRSP component asks teachers to facilitate learning experiences that allow students to engage in productive struggle and cognitive conflict so that they can move from dependent learners to independent learners who are capable of utilizing cognitive routines to problem solve. Of course, each of these components are powerful individually, but when integrated, they provide young people with a transformational learning experience that contributes to social, emotional, academic, and personal growth. We wouldn't want to just focus on cultural competence because students may not learn how to exercise their agency to make a meaningful difference in the world, or how to engage in productive struggle to build their intellective capacity. And we wouldn't want to focus just on critical consciousness because then students might only learn about oppression or social injustice, and they don't get an opportunity to hear those counter narratives of resilience and brilliance. And we wouldn't want to only focus on cognitive capacity development or just emphasizing rigor without having students see the relevance to their own lives or learn how all of that can connect to meaningful societal change. Our hope is that you leave this playlist understanding that it truly is about the integration of all three culturally responsive sustaining components and their ability to foster meaningful and lasting learning experiences for young people.